Hello, welcome to the Bookcast Club, a podcast for people who like to chat books. Today it is all three of us here talking to you. So it is me, Sarah, coming to you from the Netherlands, and then we have Chris coming to you from Indianapolis in the US, and Jenny, who is coming to you from Norwich in the UK. And we are talking to you today about three short stories. And I would just give you a bit of a spoiler, or a bit of a background inside information, if you will. This is an episode halfway in the season, but it's the first time I've recorded the podcast in months and months. So I'm slightly panicking and I'm nervous, but it's fine. So I'm sure me in the last few weeks sounded much smoother than me today, but whatever. So we are going to talk about, three short stories, as I said. So we've done a few of these episodes before, really enjoyed them. So we're going to talk about The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu, Recitatif by Toni Morrison, and A Temporary Matter by John Balihiri. And I'm leading the episode, apparently. Is that fine? I just started doing that.
Go for it, Sarah.
You're doing a bang-up job already.
Thank you. So. We didn't talk about this. We were just chatting about other things, and I just started doing the intro. Then halfway through, I was
Your
like,
natural
is this fine?
Leadership skills.
Exactly. Good. Let's get into them. Three short stories.
Absolutely. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So we chose these together. Chris chose two of them. I chose one. And no, hang on. What's what? The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu, which we'll put all three in the show notes, and we'll put most of these you can read online actually for free. Mm-hmm. So if you want to read them before you listen to us chat about them, I would recommend it, especially the shorter ones. But yeah, Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. Let's go. Woo.
The Paper Menagerie is a short story which I believe won either the Hugo or the Nebula. If I was a more professional podcaster, I would have looked that information up before I started. But it did make a pretty big splash in the science fiction and fantasy world when it was published. But it's more of a magical realism story, I would say, than it is a kind of traditional genre sci-fi or fantasy story. So if you're somebody who's a little put off by fantasy or science fiction as a genre, I would not let that hold you back from experiencing The Paper Menagerie, which is told from the perspective of a young man who is the son of a Chinese woman, and she had made a set of origami animals that magically came to life. And when this young man was young, it was something that he was very proud of and enjoyed kind of showing off to others. But over the years starts to feel a real sense of shame over this magical menagerie. And the story then really kind of becomes more about his relationship with his mother, the history of his mother that he didn't know from China, and also about the kind of the struggles that he's having as a first-generation immigrant relating to his mother's culture, feeling shamed for his mother's culture, and trying to assimilate and be seen as less Chinese. And it's beautiful, and it ends with a letter from his mother that he translates from the Chinese that kind of explains her story. And it's freaking beautiful and devastating at the same time. So I'd love to hear what you guys thought about it, reading it for the first time. I've read it a couple of times over the years, and it is one that has always moved me.
Have you read it before, Sarah?
No, I think this is actually the first thing by Ken Liu I've ever read.
It was the first I had ever read by Ken Liu, and I've read a lot of his short stories over the years, and I really enjoy most of his stuff. If you like Ted Chiang, I think you would like Ken Liu.
Yeah, Ted Chiang is someone I've been meaning to get to his short stories. I know Kate from Book Club Review podcast really recommends Ted Chiang's short stories. And also actually kind of in a similar vein to what you just said about it being a good entry into sort of more fantastical writing. Ted Chiang is a really good intro for science fiction. We're not talking about Ted Chiang though. What did you think, Jen?
I loved it. I own the collection. I mean, is anyone surprised? I own the damn collection. I've never read it. It's just sat there on my shelf. So yeah, it's one of the best short stories I've ever read. I absolutely loved it. It had everything that I like in short stories. I think I liked the magical realism side of it. I liked the topic it was covering, and I liked that it was so freaking sad. Tick tick tick. Yeah, I loved it. What about you, Sarah?
I liked it. This is going to sound like an odd complaint coming from me. I found it a little bit unrelentingly sad, and there was a bit of a lack.
It is a weird complaint with you.
Yeah, I know. I think it might be the first time I've ever said that. I was missing, especially for the mother, her whole story was so sad the whole way through, and I understand that life is an absolute ball ache for some people. I just wish there had been some element of it that was a little more grey. I think for me it was maybe the lack of grey. There was just, I really liked it, but yeah, it just felt sad, sad, sad. Perhaps I'm asking for too much from a short story, because the story was beautiful. I loved the magical realism element to it with the origami, like Jen said. That was a beautiful symbolism. The way that shot that the origami, so the origami kind of comes to life throughout, and that is very representative of what's happening in the book, in the story, with the characters' relationships with each other. I thought that was really beautiful. From the main character himself, I think I just wanted a bit more grey. I don't know. It just felt a little bit simple in the complexity of the characters for me. Is that too excessive a critique for a 10-page short story? It possibly is.
I don't know.
No,
I
don't
agree.
think so at all.
I agree to a certain extent. His decisions as a character weren't particularly not believable, but they were quite abrupt.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I can see how you'd want a little bit more depth from a character. And then by the end, I mean, I don't think it's not too much of a spoiler to say, but he unfolds one of the origami animals in the letter from his mum is written on the inside. And I guess his redemptive arc is a bit from zero to hero by the end. So I do get it, but I still loved it. I just loved how beautiful and clever and different it was.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I thought the characters were, because he packs a lot into this story. There's a lot happens in this short story. It has a beginning, middle, and end, basically. Like, it's really packed. It has beautiful writing, and it has, I wouldn't say well-developed characters, but it has characters who each have strong characteristics. Like, they are developed, they are real people, I suppose. But there was an element, there's a part in it where the son starts to feel less accepting of his mother, who's Chinese, and that's when it started to feel a little bit simple for me, because he started to say, like, oh, I don't want to speak to my mother in Chinese anymore, I only want to speak to her in English. And the dad started backing him up, and then they sort of pivoted to being an English only household, and then the mother was really sad about it, and that was kind of it. And I just would have wanted a bit more nuance, especially at that part. Maybe for him to find something missing in, like, a more American, like, quote-unquote American, like, way of life or something. It just felt a little bit, the way that it just kind of pivoted for me, I found a little bit unsatisfying. But I'm aware that this is a lot of criticism for a very short story. And then the sort of solution, the sort of end thing being just that this made the mother really sad. And then he sort of realised that, and he was like, oh, no, I'm really sad. I was like, oh, okay, I just wish there had been something a little bit more.
I kind of feel exactly what you're saying about the characters in particular, because the story has, like, kind of a simple way of presenting itself. Like, the prose is very clean and simple. Even though the writing is, I think, beautiful and emotionally evocative, it's not really showy or, like, trying to do too much. Like, there's no real purple sentences or anything like that. It has a very crisp, kind of clean way of reading that maybe lends itself to maybe a more simple view on the characters, or maybe it feels more simple. So I can definitely understand, like, how somebody would, like, feel that way about the story. I didn't feel that way as I was reading it, but it would maybe be interesting to reread it again, kind of with that criticism in hand. I love this story. I think one of the things I find very beautiful about it is the way that the menagerie kind of over the years starts to diminish, and it doesn't come to life anymore. The paper fades and stuff. In a lot of ways, it kind of mirrors what his mother is going through as she continues to kind of face the rejection of her son, and is, loses her own self, and that's, I think, really quite beautifully portrayed in the story. Even though it maybe sounds a bit on the nose when I just kind of explain it like that, it doesn't feel on the nose when you're reading it. It's a really beautiful metaphor.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of craftsmanship in this. I mean, even the fact that I'm having these fairly in-depth complaints about what it is that we just read, I think already shows how much, like, how well done it is, because he's fit like so much of this story in, and I feel that I can complain about there's, like, fairly nuanced things in these characters. It kind of shows how much he's able to to put in, I think, as you were just saying.
Yeah, and it goes into some of the cruelty he faces as a child from other children for being Chinese. I mean, it's really quite vicious. Like at one point, I think he knocks over a toy of one of the neighbor boys or something like that. And his father is white. He's not Chinese. And so the boy says something along the lines of like, that toy was probably more expensive than what your dad paid for your mom. I mean, so the kind of level of cruelty that he kind of faces for his race is really horrific. And so I think it does kind of explain some of his rejection of his mother as kind of putting that cruelty onto her. Yeah, I love this story. I think if you haven't read it, definitely should. But also, I can see where Sarah is coming from.
Yeah, no, I loved it, and I think anything now, because I've got children, anything with children, and I'm like, oh, it's so sad, and what if Dylan treats me like this when I'm older? And it's just, I loved it, but I think I especially loved I like magical realism. I'm not a huge magical realism fan, but just the actual like origami animals,
I know,
just is so beautiful how they're described, and how he describes her sort of breathing into them, and that's what like brings them to life. And it's just it's just lovely. I kind of want to read it to Robin, although entirely inappropriate for a 4-year-old, but do you know what I mean? Like, it's just such a nice story that I can't wait until she's old enough to be told it.
Yeah, I think if you read this story and like it, I really do think you would like other Ken Liu stories. Most of them are a little bit more genre than this one is, but he's a fantastic prose stylist and craftsman in science fiction and fantasy stories.
I mean, there's some beautiful writing in this. It made me still want to read things that he has written. There was a line in there that right towards the end where the mother says, "Son, I know that you do not like your eyes, which are my eyes," which is so beautiful.
I know. Yeah. Oh, in fact, I have the paragraph right here because I'm looking at the story. It says, "Son, I know that you do not like your Chinese eyes, which are my eyes. I know that you do not like your Chinese hair, which is my hair. But can you understand how much joy your very existence brought to me? And can you understand how it felt when you stopped talking to me and won't let me talk to you in Chinese? I felt I was losing everything all over again."
Is that the end of her letter?
Yeah, it's
one of the very last paragraphs.
No, the letter doesn't even end happily.
No, it
doesn't. That's sad.
Yeah.
Give me something, God.
It's sad but beautiful. It'll tear your heart out a little bit, and yeah, I love it.
This is where we pop a little ad break in to tell you about all the different ways you can support the pod, most of which are totally free. We'll start with Patreon, as this is where we've been hiding over the last few months. Tiers start at £2 a month, with our bonus episode tier costing just £5. Now that we're seasonal and generally recording ahead of time, Patreon is where you will find all our timely conversations on recent and current reads, DNFs, book prizes, and loads more. You can try our bonus tier for free today. We highly encourage a binge listen to our back catalogue of bonus episodes, and we will take no offence if you choose to cancel afterwards. If you love receiving book mail and personalised recommendations, our top tier is for you. We get you to fill in a survey, and then we tailor our book recommendations to your preferences. Find all the details in our show notes. Now, for the free ways to support us that make a huge difference, a really effective and easy way of showing your support is by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. There is a link in the show notes that will take you straight to the Apple Podcast page where you can write, hopefully, a 5-star review. If you listen on Spotify, you can also very easily give us a star rating. You can also share our posts on social media. We're at Bookcast Club on Instagram and TikTok. You can sign up to our newsletter on Substack, where we share even more book recommendations, our pick of the new releases, and all the latest podcast news. But the best way for us to find new listeners is by you telling your book-loving friends and family about us. However you choose to show your support, we, as always, want to say a huge thank you. We appreciate each and every one of our listeners.
We're kind of rolling along with Sad But Beautiful. Should we go to... How do you pronounce this word?
I say recitatif. It's like French.
Recitatif? Yeah, I know. It is French.
I was going to say Sarah pronounced it beautifully.
This is a short story by Toni Morrison, and I have a really upsetting, embarrassing admission to make right now.
God, hang on, let me try.
This is my introduction to Toni Morrison.
Oh.
I've never read anything else.
I've never read anything.
Oh,
by
you
Toni
guys,
Morrison.
she's one of my faves.
I know, yeah. Book Lover Award should be stripped from me. I own Beloved.
Me too. Ha! No surprise there.
Oh, you guys, I love Toni Morrison. This is Toni Morrison's only short story that she wrote. And this is a story of two girls who grow up kind of living, they know each other throughout their lives, and they're sort of living in parallel lives. And they both end up in this kind of orphanage. It's very, really put me in mind of that stupid Netflix show about chess. What is it called? What is it called?
Queen's Gambit?
Was the Queen's Gambit? I never saw it.
I couldn't get Queen's Gambit out. I was like, oh, this show has ruined me. There's nothing about chess at all. It's simply the fact that they're in this weird orphanage with a lot of beds. Anyway, it's very serious apart from that. So it's about these two girls who are in this kind of orphanage, and then it's following them as they're in the orphanage, and then as they grow up, they kind of touch lives every 10-ish years, but they're not friends. And the point of the story, what Toni Morrison has done here, is that they have very, very different lives. The reasons why they're in the orphanage in the first place are very, very different. Crucially, both of their mothers are actually still alive, so they're not technically orphans. They were kind of abandoned. And their race, you know that one is black and one is white, but you don't know which is which. And the two girls, their lives are completely different. And it really flips your perception as you try and work out which is which. It really challenges your perception of how you interpret the two mothers in the story, because they are both women who are sort of women who have abandoned their children basically, but for completely different reasons. So it's a very Toni Morrison type story, very, very challenging, and even though it's short, deserves to be read slowly, I would say. So you guys, but first Morrison for both of you. Am I allowed to say that? Is that a secret?
Maybe it should be. I have enjoyed this one more reflecting back on it. The reading experience I didn't enjoy as much as the other two, but the more I think back on it, the more I think maybe the story has to offer. It's got a lot more depth to it maybe than the other two stories. I don't know, but I did enjoy it. I found her writing a little bit tricky to get into to start with. I don't really know why. I was just finding it, I was tripping over it a little bit, but I'm not really sure why that was. That might have just been from quickly switching from one writer to another.
No, I really enjoyed this. I'm going to be honest with you. It took me a while to realize that not fully understanding which woman was which race was intentional. I thought I was being dumb because I was like, wait. You know what I'm trying to say as you read it? And so it took me a while to stop being confused by the story. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure if I had finished being confused by the story even by the end. But that being said, I still really liked it. One element of this story that I thought was the most interesting was that when they were children in this orphanage, there was a woman there who was disabled. Kind of in the realm of ambiguities here that Morrison's playing with. We don't fully know how the woman was disabled or the extent of her disabilities, but she's described as having legs like parentheses. She's deaf, she's mute. In a lot of ways, she's about as underprivileged as you can get in terms of just how defenseless she is. And the kids mock and torment her. And from the beginning, you think that Twyla and Roberta, who are the young girls, were just witnesses to an event that happened to this woman where she was kicked and abused by the girls. And then as the story goes on and the memories are played with, you begin to question maybe that Twyla and Roberta were involved in kicking this woman and in beating her. And it's really playing with the kind of the ways that people are dehumanized, the levels of complicity that you have in the dehumanization of others, the kind of almost perhaps instinct that maybe when you're kicked, you want to kick others, right? That's kind of played with. Towards the end of the story, the two women are trying to kind of grapple with what did or didn't happen with Maggie. And they kind of have to reassure each other that they didn't actually kick Maggie, but they wanted to. And they kind of have to deal with the fact that they wanted to kick somebody who was lower than them. And that's not to spoil anything, but that is kind of the note that the story ends on, which I thought was really quite haunting, actually, in retrospect of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's so ambiguous the whole way through, right? Because this Maggie character comes up again and again, and you just can't get a handle on what actually happened with her. Her race is also ambiguous, and so one of them picked on her, and then the other one called them a bigot, potentially. That may or may not have happened, and you don't know. It like messes with your whole perception of what exactly is going on. Like whose in group this is, whose out group is this.
One of the ways that the women kind of meet up later is that they kind of meet up in different like historical contexts, and one of the historical contexts they meet up with is the integration of a school that's happening. Their children are being bused because of this, and one of the women is outside the protest sign, holding up basically, mothers have rights, don't bust my children, and the other one is attacking that group and having like a counter protest with signs and stuff. And you don't know if they're against busing as black parents because they don't want their children to have to go and bus, or if they're against their children busing as white parents because they don't want their children to be in school with black children. And you know that there's a conflict between these two women, but you don't know which side they stand on or what stake they actually hold in it. And that's really strange as you're reading the story.
Yeah. So my copy of this has an essay by Zadie Smith at the beginning, which is amazing, which really stimulated my understanding of this story, to be honest. And so she talks a lot. She is a huge admirer of Toni Morrison, and she talks a lot about this short story and understands the nuances of this story far better than I do. And she talks in the essay, about this particular school, and also about the character Twyla, who's living in this, I think it's called Newdigate or somewhere. And the place, so Twyla's race is ambiguous. You know that she's married into a family that's from that area. And you know this area used to be quite white and wealthy, and then it has moved into becoming more mixed, I suppose. But you don't know, you can't, and so Twyla has particular opinions about what has happened to that town, but you don't know what side she comes from. Like, you don't know where, you know that her family, her husband's family is very integrated into the town, but you don't know from what side, which like completely changes how you interpret what she thinks about the school. Like, it was such a mindfuck, to be honest with you. I was like, ugh. Yeah, so this essay by Zadie Smith at the beginning was amazing, and it really helped my understanding, and especially she goes into detail about I was sort of prompted by this. I didn't have to spend the first like half of it trying to figure out. Thank you, Zadie. She helped. Yeah, but God, it was a mindfuck. So good.
Do we know which character's black and which character's white
No,
at the end?
Zadie Smith actually talks about this, how I think she's taught classes, or she's been in classes where this has been taught, and the students just argue, like, hugely.
So funny. I definitely made assumptions.
I did too. I'll be honest, my biggest assumption was that Twyla, like, if I had to choose, which I don't think the story is actually telling you to choose, but like, if you were to make the argument, like, for me, Twyla was more likely the black character, but maybe I'm wrong.
That's what I assumed.
I thought Twyla was the white character.
Oh, really?
Okay,
I made the assumption really early on as well. So in my head, like, that happened,
yes,
and then I didn't think about it again. Yeah, that's fascinating.
I made the assumption that Twyla was white because of the mothers. There was something about the description of the two mothers. I didn't assume. I decided that's kind of where I was settling.
Yeah.
Because of the way the mothers were described. But I knew that that was a perception that I was having. And it had to do with the perception, particularly the other one, Roberta's mother, about how much of a sort of church lady she was. It's just sort of, in my head, it made a little bit more sense if she was black, but I don't know.
I thought the opposite of that, also because of Roberta's mother. I thought, sorry if I remember correctly, I thought that she was white because she was the one who initially spurned Twyla's mother and was like basically
she refused to shake her hand, didn't she?
Yeah, refused to shake her hand, yeah. And so to me that read like a white woman of the Jim Crow South, like being racist against a black woman. So that's why to me it read as though Roberta was white and Twyla was black.
That was the moment I made my decision, which is funny.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Zadie. I can read out the bit that Zadie Smith wrote about
Do.
this specific thing. So she talks about that exact bit, and then she says, "We might think that the puzzle is solved when both mothers come to visit their daughters one Sunday, and Roberta's mother refuses to shake Twyla's mother's hand. But a moment later, upon reflection, it will strike us that a pious, upstanding, sickly black mother might be just as unlikely to shake the hand of an immoral, fast-living, trashy, dancing white mother as vice versa, complicating matters further."
I was going to say, I think this is a story I would like even better on a reread. Like, I don't think that this is a story that you really maybe fully get the first time around.
Yeah, I have to say that has been my experience with every Toni Morrison I've ever read. I've just reading it like, this is really good, and I feel like I understand 20% of what she's doing here. I think more than any other writer, I read it with this sense of like, well, I better reread this.
Yeah, I'm probably going to reread this one today, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I literally feel like I need to reread it now.
There's a Jeanette Winterson book which I read that I can't remember the name of, where the gender of the character is ambiguous. And so she's dating this woman, and you don't know if it's a same-sex... I say she's dating this woman. The character is dating this woman, and you don't know if it's a same-sex relationship or not. And it's really interesting. I read this with my book club, and we ended up... I think it's written on the body. And we ended up nutting this out. And, yeah, people had made very quick assumptions early doors, and it, like, completely changed their perception of the book. It was really interesting. Third one? Yeah, what was the third one? The Jhumpa Lahiri.
Chris's one again.
A Temporary Matter by Jhumpa Lahiri, which is the opening short story to her Pulitzer Prize-winning collection, The Interpreter of Maladies. One of my absolute favorite short story collections ever, ever, ever. Every story is a banger. If you have not read it, you must. This story of all of them, in some ways, has kind of the least amount of plot. But actually, saying that, there is actually quite a bit that kind of happens in the story. So it's following a married couple in their apartment as there is an issue going on with their electricity, so it's being turned off every night. And together they sit down and they reveal to each other in the dark secrets, both big and small, that they have kept from each other over the years. And looming over this is the fact that they have just lost a child. She gave birth to a stillborn baby. And this grief is sitting on them and straining their marriage. It's really depressing in a lot of ways. It's also very evocative and very sad. And slowly you start to see the secrets that they have kept from each other, and the way learning these secrets hurts and perhaps in some ways heals them.
Chris, I'm going to make you very happy, because you know that I have not actually liked Jhumpa Lahiri in the past. Remember? I read Whereabouts, I didn't like it, and I was like, oh, I just thought it wasn't that good. I really liked this. It might have changed my opinion on Jhumpa Lahiri, like, completely. It was so good. I listened to the audiobook of this, and
oh, really?
The last 5... That was only because my library had the audiobook available and the book on hold, so I got the audiobook. And I literally listened to the last 5 minutes of this with my hands, like, over my mouth. I was like, oh my God. I thought this was so good. I really, really loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was really good. And again, the ending of this one, I was like, you cannot do that. I cannot believe that just happened. Yeah, it's great though. I think it really captured what pain and blame can feel like in a situation like that, especially when you don't talk about it. And even though what was said at the end I thought was shocking, it was still believable that it was coming from a place of real hurt.
Yeah.
At one point I thought it was going to end in a completely different way, and I think I would have, I don't know, not enjoyed it quite as much, but there was, just something about that little bit at the end that I thought, wow, this is a sad story.
One of the things I love about the story is that the reason she initially kind of makes this game to, if I remember all the details correctly, to tell these kind of secrets in the dark and all this different stuff, is she initially says this is something that like she did with her aunt in Calcutta when the lights would go out. And so it really evokes this kind of like nostalgic storytelling kind of thing that feels warm and intimate and happy. And instead, the way that these characters are using these secrets is not to be kind of warm and inviting, but maybe kind of cruel. And there's almost something almost like they have to do this pain in the dark, you know what I'm trying to say, and wound each other in the dark. And it's such a sharp contrast from like childhood storytelling memories with your family. And I don't know why, but that I find very beautiful and upsetting.
Yeah, there was something about this unpicking of so many years of miscommunication. I just found this, it was so poignant. And you can just see that they would not be able to patch together what has been broken. I just found it, God, it was so good. I really, really loved it.
I won't spoil what the ending is in terms of what she says, because if you read the story, you really must. But the thing that she is said at the end, before it's said, is prefaced by saying, I'm not going to say this to you in the dark. I want to see your face when I say this. There is something about that felt so like bone chilling when I read it. And every time I've read it, that passage like really gets under my skin. A very expertly crafted story up to this moment. Just so much emotional tension building as you're reading.
So we're trying to talk without spoilers here. As soon as she said that, I knew what was coming. So I knew what she was about to do. It's what he chose to do afterwards that I was like, wow, okay, we're going there.
That's where I had my hands over my mouth. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
same.
No. It's like the last 3 minutes of the book, the story I can tell you. And I was like watching the little tracker go up to like the end, and I was like, no. Oh, God, it was so good.
It's so good.
I thought that she was going to say one of two different things, so I was kind of surprised. But it was one of the things that I thought she would say. But oh God, his reaction! Even now, I'm putting my hands over my face. Like, it was visceral. I was like, shut up.
And it made me think that even in that situation, would I say the most painful thing I could possibly say to someone? Yeah. And I like to think that I wouldn't. So yeah, I guess if you want to reflect on your own behaviour, it's a nice one to read.
Yeah. That's really. I would like to think that I wouldn't either, but I don't know. I don't think I would go as far as that went ever. But good Lord, it is a story that really goes there. It also has, and I won't spoil it, one of my favorite ending lines of a short story ever. So watch out for that.
Last line. I think I blanked out by then. I was reeling.
What was the last line, Chris?
You were just sobbing? Okay, the last line was that...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was just like... devastating.
Yeah, it was really good. I'll definitely finish the rest of the collection. It was so fucking good. It was great.
Yeah, the rest of the collection... Every single story, it really is a banger after banger. And then if you want more bangers, read her short story collection, Unaccustomed Earth.
I don't think I do need any more bangers from her, to be honest. I think that was a...
yeah.
quite enough. If that's the context of a banger, I think quite good, actually. Bang-free, as it were.
You still need to recover from this banger?
Yeah. Jesus.
Her writing style reminds me, maybe you guys might disagree, but her writing style, prose-wise, and also some of the themes that she deals with, reminds me a lot of Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie.
All right, okay. That's interesting. I was thinking of her in the shower today. Really oddly.
Oh, as you do.
Funny that you bring that up.
If you've read, like, for example, Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie's short story collection, The Thing Around Your Neck, there's something about that collection, and every time I read either Jhumpa Lahiri or Adichie, I always just think, God, these writers there's something about the prose, there's something about these characters and the way they're described and the intimacy that just really reminds me of each other.
Okay, cool. That's funny. I was thinking today about how Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, she really... There's something about her writing that resonates with me on such a deep level, especially some of her non-fiction stuff. I just adore it. It's so, so good. Is that it?
I think so. Those were our thoughts on these three all devastating, but all quite beautiful short stories that we would, I think, recommend all of them quite highly.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you very much for listening to the Bookcast Club. If you would like to contact us with any questions, ideas, feedback, or recommendations, you can always email us at thebookcastclub@outlook.com, or you can reach out to us on any of our social medias by searching at Bookcast Club. If you want to hear more reviews, new releases, podcast recommendations, and updates on the pod, be sure to sign up for our newsletter. And if you're interested in getting even more content from us, you can always check out our Patreon. It is available for a 7-day free trial to sign up. You can find new videos, book recommendations, and even books in the post. We can't wait to talk to you guys again.